This is the view from a airplane from KTLA photographer Paul Sanchez as he's giving us an aerial perspective to the devastation in the Palisades. Sky 5 unable to fly due to a temporary flight restriction put in.
I know you lost a friend.
I did lose a friend, and for our church, it's really tender, so I don't feel like I should talk about her yet. But yeah, I did lose a friend who did not get out in time, and you know,
kids in shelters and to help with social emotional and to make sure that to work with hand in hand with the Red Cross to make sure that shelters are set up for little babies and moms and kids and fathers. And
Jennifer Lopez's latest move to rally donations for the Red Cross amid the raging LA wildfires has everyone talking, but not all for the right reasons. While J.Lo is calling on her fans to help, Jennifer Garner has been spotted on the front lines, personally assisting victims and first responders. And allegedly, Ben Affleck isn't too impressed with his ex's approach, especially when contrasted with Garner's hands-on efforts. Is this a genuine attempt by J.Lo to give back, or just another PR play to clean up her image? Let's get into it. J.Lo cancels appearances to focus on fire relief. According to reports, J.Lo has canceled all her upcoming appearances, including interviews on The View, Live with Kelly and Mark, and The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, to help raise awareness and aid for the victims of the devastating fires sweeping through Los Angeles. A source close to the actress said, "It's important to her to focus on supporting the community of Los Angeles during this very difficult time." While that might sound noble on the surface, here's where the backlash comes in. J.Lo left donation links asking her fans, many of whom are regular working-class people, to contribute. Critics have been quick to point out that J.Lo herself is a multimillionaire with more than enough resources to make a significant impact without asking others to shoulder the burden. The situation is a bit similar to the backlash Oprah and The Rock faced during the 2023 Maui fires when they asked the public to donate to a relief fund despite their own immense wealth. People are questioning why billionaires and multimillionaires feel the need to funds from those far less fortunate when they could easily fund these efforts themselves.
Every person who called me and said, "What can I do?" This is what you can do. The People's Fund of Maui.
Now, on the surface, this sounds like a noble gesture, but people aren't exactly buying it because J.Lo isn't exactly known for her generosity. Ben Affleck reportedly not buying it. And it's not just the people. Word on the street is that Ben Affleck, who finalized his messy divorce with J.Lo earlier this month, thinks her decision to publicly campaign for donations is more about attention than genuine concern. Sources close to the actor claim that Ben feels J.Lo's trying to shift the spotlight away from the wave of negative press she's been dealing with lately. Ben, who's been dealing with personal struggles and co-parenting with his ex-wife Jennifer Garner, probably finds it hard to believe that J.Lo's sudden charitable streak isn't part of a bigger PR plan. After all, their relationship has been filled with drama, and it's no secret that things haven't exactly ended on the best terms between them. Jennifer Garner actually helping on the ground. To make matters even messier, Ben's ex, Jennifer Garner, has reportedly been out in the community, physically helping those affected by the fires. Unlike J.Lo, who's sharing donation links from her luxury mansion, Garner was out there, boots on the ground, volunteering with World Central Kitchen, a nonprofit founded by renowned chef Jose Andres. Garner didn't just drop by for a quick photo op either. She was seen distributing meals to first responders and families affected by the fires.
we just have to try to slow it down and also just really emotionally support the kids who lost their school, their home, their church, their playground, our little playground down here, just the community. It's we've got to really do some social emotional support.
In fact, people confirmed that Garner worked with WCK partners, helping deliver food from restaurants and food trucks. The photos showed her holding a WCK branded duffel bag and getting out of a van filled with supplies. It's clear that Garner wasn't there to boost her public image. She genuinely wanted to help.
She lives in Palisades for many years, and I think you recognize her, Carrie. And she lives in Brentwood, and she came today to see the place where she has spent so many years and where she has so many friends.
During an interview with Katie Couric, Garner downplayed her involvement, humbly saying, "0% of it is about me because I have my home and I am safe." She went on to talk about how witnessing the devastation firsthand was shocking and how the community hasn't even begun to process the scale of the tragedy. Now, this kind of humility is what's making people praise Garner even more, especially when compared to J.Lo's more detached approach. To make things even more awkward, Ben Affleck reportedly didn't stick around J.Lo's $20 million mansion when the wildfires started raging. Instead, he headed over to his ex-wife Jennifer Garner's nearby home. According to TMZ, Ben was evacuated from his home in Pacific Palisades and decided to take refuge at Garner's house in Brentwood. Now, it's unclear whether he went there purely for safety or to check on their 3 youngins, but one thing's for sure, this move didn't exactly help J-Lo's image. Why people aren't buying J-Lo's acts of charity. Let's talk about Jilly Lyer, J-Lo's former assistant who made headlines after quitting to work for Mariah Carey back in 2013. Now, people leave jobs all the time, but according to inside sources, Jilly left because of some serious drama. Allegedly, J-Lo's then-boyfriend Casper Smart had way too much control over the household staff. He reportedly demanded that everyone call him Mr. Smart and even ordered Jilly around, making her fetch him drinks as if she were his personal servant. The craziest part? J-Lo didn't step in to stop this behavior. Instead, she seemingly allowed it, which left many questioning her sense of professionalism and basic respect for her employees. Letting someone disrespect your staff like that doesn't scream kindness, it screams entitlement. Throwing loyal team members under the bus. J-Lo didn't just lose assistants, she also managed to alienate some of her most loyal collaborators. Take Scott Barnes, her longtime makeup artist, for example. Scott had been by her side for years, helping her craft her iconic looks. Yet when a leak about her plans to marry Mark Anthony hit the media, J-Lo didn't hesitate to point fingers at him.
All of a sudden we were told, the next guest is on her way. It's Jennifer Lopez. You guys need to clear the room. Everybody needs to... And suddenly there was an instant panic. And again, I've been to doing a lot of talk shows in the green room with a lot of actors, and I'd never had that experience.
Without so much as a conversation, she fired Scott and told her entire team to cut ties with him. According to Scott, he was blindsided by the accusations. He wasn't involved in the leak at all, but no one gave him a chance to explain himself. He spent months being shunned by J-Lo's inner circle, treated like he was guilty until proven innocent. Eventually, the truth came out: Scott wasn't the leak. But instead of offering a heartfelt apology, J-Lo reportedly called him up and asked him to come back to work. No apology, no acknowledgement of how she had wronged him, just a request for him to return. And here's the kicker: Scott agreed. Strict rules for drivers. And then there's the wild demands J-Lo allegedly makes to her drivers. According to a viral TikTok, her personal drivers are required to follow a list of rules that's so strict, it's driving people away from working with her altogether. One woman shared that her father, who worked for a transportation company that often dealt with J-Lo, outright refused to drive for her after hearing about her difficult attitude. The rules? They include some bizarre ones like not speaking to her unless spoken to first, not looking at her directly, and, get this, not even glancing at her through the rearview mirror. Oh, and if any of these rules are broken, the driver risks getting fired on the spot. Imagine being scolded just for making eye contact. Her no luggage on the ground rule. But here's the real kicker. J-Lo reportedly has another peculiar rule. Her luggage must never touch the ground. Now think about that for a second. Handling heavy luggage without letting it touch the ground, especially when you're always on the go, that's next level impossible. Yet, this is what's expected, and if you can't meet these high demands, you're out.
Number one, when she has drivers, the number one rule she has for them is they can't look at her, they can't talk to her, and her luggage is never allowed to touch the ground. If any of those things happen, she will go out of her way to make sure you get fired. Even if you have to look in the rear view mirror while you're driving.
These extreme expectations give the impression that J-Lo expects absolute perfection from her staff, and if you don't meet her standards, she's quick to dismiss you. It's no wonder many drivers allegedly refuse to work with her after hearing about these stories. The lawsuit with her former driver. And just when you thought it couldn't get messier, it turns out there's some truth to these claims. One of J-Lo's former drivers, Jacob Manoyan, actually sued her. Jacob wasn't just any driver. He started working for J-Lo and Mark Anthony back in 2005 and quickly became close with the couple. In fact, their bond was so strong that J-Lo reportedly convinced Jacob to shut down his own company to work exclusively for her as the head of security and transportation, promising him a hefty annual salary of over $200,000. But things started to go south in 2011 when, according to Jacob, J-Lo's manager Benny Medina began stirring up trouble. Jacob alleged that Benny didn't like him and eventually convinced J-Lo to demote him. Suddenly, Jacob went from being the head of security to just a regular driver in Los Angeles.
Jacob alleges that he was publicly berated by J-Lo's manager, Benny Medina, and Jenny didn't pay him his alleged salary.
J-Lo countersues for extortion. Feeling disrespected and sidelined, Jacob claims he was forced to resign. After leaving, he filed a lawsuit against J-Lo and Benny for unspecified damages. But J-Lo didn't take this lying down. Oh no, she countersued Jacob for extortion, claiming his lawsuit was an attempt to blackmail her. While J-Lo's countersuit was dismissed in late 2012, the original lawsuit was eventually settled out of court with undisclosed terms.
Former American American Idol judge Jennifer Lopez has filed a $20 million lawsuit against her ex-chauffeur for extortion and defamation after he threatened to release damaging information about her.
Now, even though the legal battle was resolved, it didn't do much for J-Lo's reputation. The fact that someone who once had such a close working relationship with her felt mistreated and demoted adds fuel to the fire. It's another example of how tough it allegedly is to work with her. With stories like these piling up, it's no wonder people are questioning whether her recent charity efforts are genuine or just a PR stunt to improve her image. A reputation for not tipping. Now, over the years, multiple stories have popped up about J-Lo being stingy when it comes to tipping. And the worst part? Some folks are claiming she doesn't just avoid tipping herself, but allegedly stops Ben Affleck from tipping too. Imagine that, being wealthy beyond belief, yet holding back on something as basic as tipping service workers. The casino worker story. One of the most talked about incidents involves a casino worker who had been serving Ben all night. According to the story, Ben, feeling generous, handed the worker a whopping $10,000 tip. Pretty nice, right? Well, here's where it gets messy. When J-Lo found out about it, she allegedly took the money back. Now you can probably imagine how upset that worker was. Thankfully, Ben later made things right by sending her a bouquet of flowers and an even bigger tip of $25,000 to apologize for the awkward situation.
Second story, she was with Ben, I believe at MGM or whichever casino, and Ben's a great tipper and he respects service workers, and so he tipped a lot of people a lot of money that night. Jennifer goes around to each of those people and takes back the tip and gives them maybe $5-10.
J-Lo allegedly telling Ben not to tip, and it doesn't stop there. Several stories have surfaced where J-Lo was allegedly overheard telling Ben not to tip at all. Apparently, she's out here micromanaging even the small things like tipping. Fans have been quick to point out that for someone with her level of wealth, this behavior seems not only petty, but straight up dismissive toward the people who serve her. With stories like these floating around, it's hard for people to buy into her sudden show of generosity during the wildfires. I mean, how are you gonna ask people to donate when you allegedly can't even leave a decent tip for someone working hard to serve you? Treatment of backup singers. According to a story that blew up on TikTok, J-Lo supposedly has a habit of being cold toward women she views as competition, especially Latina women, or women she thinks are too attractive. One former backup singer claimed that during rehearsals, J-Lo rarely acknowledged them, only offering the occasional eye roll or scoff. Yeah, imagine putting in all that work, being part of her team, and getting treated like you don't exist.
So here's a little story time of when I met one of J-Lo's backup singers at a Tony Robbins event nonetheless, and she gave me the inside scoop of what J-Lo is really like and what it's like to work with her. And to be honest, after that, I've never looked at J-Lo the same, unfortunately.
And it gets worse. The same backup singer said that J-Lo's attitude would do a complete 180 when men entered the room. Suddenly, she was all smiles and charm. It's giving diva behavior, and for someone who brands herself as an empowering icon, stories like this do not sit right with people.
She was so mean to her backup singers, and if you were pretty or if you were a Latina, like game over. Like she straight up hated you.
The doorman incident. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. Another story that really has people side-eyeing J-Lo involves a doorman at a concert venue. Apparently, the guy made the mistake of simply looking at her. Instead of addressing him directly, J-Lo reportedly started yelling at another staff member, demanding that he comment about her behavior, saying, "So much for Jenny from the block, that was enough for her to demand his firing." If true, that's beyond ridiculous. This story only adds to the growing list of claims that J-Lo isn't as down-to-earth as she likes to portray. The gum incident, a new low for J-Lo? Now here's where things hit a whole new level of disrespect. A resurfaced clip has gone viral where J-Lo is walking through the streets of New York City with what looks like a co-star or a friend. But what really caught people's attention was how she treated her assistant. In the clip, J-Lo casually spits out her used gum right into her assistant's hand. Instead of finding a napkin or trash can, she just used her assistant as a human trash bin. Fans couldn't believe the audacity. Many described her behavior as rude and nasty.
But it was just always fascinating to me because I did get a moniker of being like a diva, which I never felt I deserved, which I don't deserve.
It's little things like this that stick with people. Sure, everyone has their bad moments, but when multiple stories like this keep coming out, it starts to paint a picture that's hard to ignore. J-Lo might be a superstar, but these stories make it seem like she might not be all that kind behind the scenes. Fans are taking sides. As expected, fans have started drawing comparisons, and let's just say J-Lo isn't coming out on top. Social media has been buzzing with posts praising Garner for her hands-on efforts while calling out J-Lo for what they see as performative charity. It's not just about the wildfires either. People are bringing up J-Lo's J-Lo's long history of questionable PR moves, saying this latest act is more about controlling her public image than genuinely helping people. And honestly, when you compare that to Garner's quiet, humble approach, it's easy to see why fans are taking her side. But what do y'all think about this whole situation? Is Ben genuinely upset about J-Lo's approach to the fires, or is this just another case of bad after their rumored breakup? And do you think Jennifer Garner helping on the ground has added to the heat J-Lo is facing? Plus, do you believe J-Lo's sudden charity push is sincere or just another PR move? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below because I need to hear what y'all think about this. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for the latest celebrity drama, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a scoop. Also, check out the next video on your end screen. Trust me, it's even more revealing than this one.